I thought you were going to the store.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna do. Alright, I can do that.
I get nervous when people watch me.
Okay, well, I'm gonna love you.
Love you. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name's Nastasia, and I'm eating some figs. Today, we're doing a video all about books, because I actually really love reading. I did one of these videos like last November or something like that, and I don't read as often as some people do. Like some people read like 12 books a day, or not a day, 12 books a month. I'm not at that level yet, but I wanted to share with you some of the books I have read recently with their ratings, and this is a collaboration video with my friend Mackenzie Lane. I love her. She's so sweet. I actually was watching her videos for like a couple years, and then one day on Instagram, I just decided to message her and tell her that I really liked her videos and that I want to be friends, because that's how I make all my friends, guys. I only make my friends from the internet. But anyway, we're friends now, and she's so sweet. She's literally just like she is online. Like, she's so kind and sweet, and she is a believer in Jesus Christ. And anyway, we really wanted to collab. So I'm gonna have her video linked down below that she is posting at the same time today, so you can click her video right away. So without further ado, if you end up liking this video, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you never miss out on a video every time I post. My Instagram is right here so you can see the behind the scenes of my life. I'm going to be trying to make more reels from now on Instagram and be more active, because Kai is excited about that, because people make all these cool reels and I'm like, you know what, I'm jumping on the bandwagon. I want to do it too. So I will be more active on my Instagram. And if you feel like you've been blessed by my ministry and you would like to donate anything to it, thank you so much. My Generosity Rocks page is down below where you can donate financially to my ministry. You get a tax write-off, and 20% of everything that is brought in through my page, we donate out again to another ministry. And we're doing the ministry Hope's Bridge right now, which helps children avoid the foster care system and instead put them in Christ-centered safe homes. So we absolutely love that. So let's get into the video. Okay, if you watched my video, the last video I did about books, which I granted was like a year ago, but I talked about a few books that I was excited to read that I hadn't started yet, or I started but hadn't finished yet, or whatever. And now I'm wanting to give you the review of that, because this is like from now, or from that point until now. So like, I don't even know, 9 months? Not really sure. Sorry. But here's all the books. So On What Grounds was one that I read by Cleo Coyle. I talked about this in that video, and it was that I had started it and that I enjoyed it so far. And I really did enjoy it. It's a coffee house mystery. She has a whole series of coffee house mysteries. What I would describe this as is like a grown-up version of like those like Nancy Drew novels or something like that, because it's not like it's really scary. It's just like you really read it for enjoyment. Like, you're not really reading it for the plot twists. You're not really reading it to like blow your mind. It's really just because it's like a fun, atmospheric kind of read. It's a coffee house read, literally. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. That being said, I did read 2 more books in that series after that. So that was the first one. The second book in the series that I also read, and when I say read, I listened to most of these books, so keep that in mind, on Libby, not sponsored. I just love Libby. If they want to sponsor me, you girl. So the next one in that series is called Through the Grinder. So if you can tell, like, the titles are On What Grounds, Through the Grinder. Like, it's supposed to be like a play on words for coffee stuff. So also by Cleo Coyle. I also gave this 3 out of 5 stars. And it's the same as before. Like, it's a nice, relaxing read. It's kind of like if you are really overwhelmed with what's happening in the world right now, everyone, these are great books to listen to or read, because you don't have to worry about being like sad or depressed or whatever while reading this. It's a coffee house mystery. It's one of those, like, it's like a little bit of romance, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of coffee. It's set in like upstate New York, I think, so that's atmospheric. Anyway, and then moving on to the next one, which is the last one I'm talking about in this series, is Latte Trouble. And it's also by Cleo Coyle. Obviously, it's in that same coffee house mystery. Again, gave it 3 stars. Probably my least favorite of the 3 though, just because I guessed the plot twist like immediately. Like within like the first 3 chapters, I think I was like, it's gonna be this person. But I have a knack for doing that. Like that's just kind of, I do that a lot. Like I've watched a lot of mysteries in the past. I've read a lot of mysteries, all this stuff. So like I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I am good at guessing plot twists of things. So if you're not good at that though, the plot twist would probably make it more of like a 4-star for you. So, but I liked it again. Again, it's like the coffee house, new mystery, new thing, her own sleuthing, all this stuff. So that's really interesting. The next one I wanted to talk about is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, I think is how you say her name. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the world the author created. So this is more of like fantasy fiction, kind of like folk tale type of world. It has like, I think the very generic premise that she was inspired by was Beauty and the Beast, just because it's supposed to be like this idea of this girl going out and somehow she ends up imprisoned by a beast. And in this case, it's a wolf type beast creature thing. So it is a fairy tale. So there are different creatures and stuff like that. It's like fairies, kind of. It's like fairy, wolf. I know this sounds like a fever dream. Somehow she makes it make sense in the book and in the world, but I enjoyed the world she was creating. I enjoyed like the different fantasy elements and the different creatures and stuff like that. I enjoyed like the histories that they created behind these creatures and how they came to be and how they explained that. I always have found that really fascinating. And I enjoyed the love story in this book, but if I remember correctly, it got a little bit steamy at parts, and it was enough so that I was kind of like, I'm gonna skip this part of this chapter. Like it was that much so, and so I prefer clean romance, and it did get a little bit steamy. So just keep that in mind. If you're a young reader, if you have a young reader and you're watching this or whatever, I personally wouldn't recommend it to anybody under like 16 or 17 just because of that. And I could have a really strict like guideline on that, so keep that in mind too. But I did notice it was a little steamy. That's why I gave it a 4 instead of a 5 out of 5, because everything else I really, really did enjoy and I thought she did well. Okay, so the next one I wanted to touch on was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I actually reread this. So I read this in 2017 while I was living in my demonically possessed apartment in DC. That's a whole nother video. This book was one of those things that got me through that time. I remember I was obsessed with this book. I would read it on the metro, which is basically the subway, to work and back from work every day. Like I had like a 35-40 minute subway like ride, and I would just read it, and then I'd get home and I would just read it, and I like, it was one of those books for me, and I really, really did enjoy it. That was a plot twist I didn't see coming, and I'm obviously not gonna say anything, but yeah, I really did enjoy this book. I probably would have given it 5 stars if I was rating it back in 2017. But because I reread it, obviously I knew what was coming and stuff like that, but it was cool to reread it knowing what the plot twist was and see it from kind of a different perspective, so I still really did enjoy it. Like it was still a 4 out of 5. And if you've never read it, it'd probably be a 5 out of 5 for you. It's kind of like if Hunger Games and The Selection had a baby book, it would be this series in my opinion. Personally, just because, although I don't really like The Selection, I actually only read like 3/4 of that first book. But it's kind of like that idea of the romance of The Selection with like some dystopian type corruption vibes of Hunger Games, which I think was a really good mashup, so I really enjoy it. Okay, and then going on to the next one in the Red Queen series, Glass Sword was also a reread for me. I read it back in 2017 as well, by Victoria Aveyard. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, although this probably was my favorite out of the series, because you get to meet all the different characters with different abilities and learn about those abilities, which I really enjoyed. I found really fascinating. You learn more about the history of that world that she creates, and a little bit more of a love story, but in there. But again, like, it was a clean romance, which I appreciated. So that was this was probably my favorite one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And moving right along to King's Cage, also Victoria Aveyard, the third in this series. 4 out of 5 stars, still solid. I'm not gonna give anything away, but I think the character Maven, he has a very complex, complicated character to him, and you get to know it a little bit more, which I appreciated. I'm glad he wasn't just like one-sided, if that makes sense. Like, he wasn't just a shallow character. I feel like there was, which he's not the main character, Mare is the main character, but anyway, my focus being, I think I really appreciated that they dove into that a little bit more in this one. Next book I want to talk about is The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. This was actually kind of disappointing to me because I love Agatha Christie. I love her books so much. And this one only got a 2 out of 5 stars for me. It was just pretty boring, I'm gonna be honest. Compared to the other ones I've read, like, this was probably my least favorite. And I've read probably like 5 or 6 of her books. It's still atmospheric, but it's more of like a summery atmospheric vibe, whereas I like my mysteries to be more fall or winter atmospheric. I know that's a preference, but it was just kind of boring me. I was waiting for the plot twist because she always, like, even in books that I have thought I wouldn't like, and it's almost at the end, I'm like, this wasn't even that good. She's like, no, it's a double plot twist. And I'm like, oh, and it's really good. This one didn't have that for me. I mean, maybe you'll like the plot twist, but it wasn't really a plot twist. It was more like, wait, what? Like, that was it? So, not a big fan. Okay, next one. This is actually an exciting one for me. So I read the Truly Devious series and Chef's Kiss. I actually loved it so much. Like, I was worried that it wasn't gonna hold up to the hype that everybody was like giving it. It really held up to the hype for me. Like, I genuinely enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's by Maureen Johnson, and so the first book is called Truly Devious. I really loved it. It's the perfect fall series. If you can get your hands on either the audiobook version or like a physical copy of this book for fall, like, if you use Libby like I do, I would put in your like your hold now, so that in a few weeks when it's available, you'll actually get it most likely around like fall time, when it's like October, November, whatever. It's so good because I think the entire series actually takes place in fall going into winter, so from like September to like November-ish, maybe December, but like around that, so it's perfect to read it during the season, like perfect. But yeah, very atmospheric. The mystery aspect of it is so solid, but it's about a bunch of teenagers that are at this prestigious school. Prestigious, like, private high school, but it's not like any private high school. You have to be invited to like even be there. And it's like in the mountains of Vermont or something like that. It is beautifully like talked about, like described, I should say, described. The characters are so good. The main character, I will say this, if you listen to the audiobook, in the beginning I was like, I'm not gonna like this narration, because I thought, at first I thought the way she was like speaking for the main character was like kind of annoying. Like, it seemed like the pauses and stuff like that were kind of awkward, but then I realized like it fits perfectly to the character because the character is kind of awkward. Her name is Stevie. And funny enough, I loved every part of this book, but something I really didn't expect that I would like so much is the friendship that they built between Stevie and Nate. I loved it for some reason. They were both just kind of weird and awkward and like so cool because of that. I really, really enjoyed this. But yeah, the mystery aspect is freaking solid. I got ice cream. It's cherry vanilla from Haagen-Dazs. It's bomb, and the ingredients are not that bad either. Anyway, this was like one of those series that I flew through. So it really didn't take me long to finish all 3 books. So the next one in the series is Vanishing Star. I give it a 5 out of 5. It was that good. It was my favorite out of the whole series. I flew through it. You are like in the thick of the mystery, in the thick of the autumnal atmosphere. It's just, this is my favorite one. I think they did it so well. It was like just like spooky enough mystery-wise that you're like, wow, like. And the third one in the series is The Hand on the Wall. I gave this a 4 out of 5. It's still super solid. The second one was just my favorite. I did guess the like murder, the plot twist or whatever, pretty early on. Like I guessed that, I think honestly in the second book, and I was right. But like I said before, to be fair, I'm pretty good with guessing. Honestly, you most likely won't guess it. It's not like it's obvious. It was just more of one of those things where I just had this feeling, and I was right. But if you don't guess it, you'll probably like it even more than a 4 out of 5. They still did such a solid job. They wrapped it up well, but this really was the end of the series, if that makes sense. The next one is gonna be like in the future. Next book I read, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I need a spoonful of ice cream for this one. Hold on. Guys. I feel betrayed by this book. I feel like this book did me dirty. I'm not happy with this book. I hated this book. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, just to be nice. In my opinion, it was a 1 out of 5. But the extra star is because I guess it was written kind of well, although I have heard some people say that. I listened to this audiobook. I've heard some people say that when you read it, it's actually even more annoying because the author wrote it in such a way that like you're kind of meant to really understand the mind of the main character, and she's kind of really struggling mentally with some things, and so it's like choppy and the font is in different places. It kind of like, it was just kind of annoying for some people to read, so maybe I would even like it less if I had read it instead of listened to it. But I heard such great things about this book, and I finally I got it on my Libby to listen to, and then I procrastinated it, and then I realized like I only have, it said like you have 24 hours till this book expires basically, and I knew I wouldn't get it back for another like 10 weeks, so I was like, no, I'm just gonna fly through it. It was a Friday. I knew I could listen to it at work because I had like just some data entry stuff to do. So I like binged listened to this entire like 9-hour or 10-hour book or whatever it was. And it was probably one of the most depressing books I've ever read in my life. To some people that might not be the case. I think it's just because like there's already so much going on in the world right now that I am sad about and that causes me anxiety, that I didn't also need something that was so dark, you could say. And the problem that I had with this is, I guess you know, somebody could be like, well, Stas, why'd you read it then? But the thing is, like, they didn't market it as this sad, depressing, moody type of book. It was marketed as more of a mystery of like, there's something going on in this family that you slowly uncover throughout the book, and that sounded really interesting to me, and like they were right. There was, but it was just like, dude, the ending was so sad. I didn't see any redeeming qualities to it. It wasn't like it was sad but beautiful, or like it was sad but this was redeemed in the end, or any hope at all. It was literally such a downer. Anyway, sorry to make that as much as that was. I didn't love it. I wish I wouldn't have read it. Like it was to the point that I went around to my coworkers and was like, have you read this? Good, don't. Like, I really didn't like it. Also, sorry if that sounds really bad if you do love this book. Good for you, that's fine. I just really didn't like it. Didn't like it. I just recently, this is the last book I am going to talk about in the sense that I finished it. I also have a couple books that I tried to finish and didn't finish because I didn't like it or whatnot. The last one I finished is Fable by Adrienne Young. Really enjoyed this book, gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I just finished listening to this like last week and really liked it. I would say I didn't love it as much as the Truly Devious series, but again, I'm only one book in. It's a series, so I have the other one on hold. I'll talk about that later. It's very like Pirates of the Caribbean-esque. That kind of fantasy world, but not as fantasy as A Court of Thorns and Roses. or Red Queen. It's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean, but like a little bit different. I already said this, but I gave it a 4 out of 5. There's some romance, but it's clean. Yeah, there's like one part of this book that I didn't, like biblically speaking, I didn't agree with, and so for that reason it can't be like a perfect book for me. But for the most part, it's a solid read, it's a clean read, but it's still like full of some action, adventure, a little bit of romance, but it's not like cheesy. I really like it, and I like the fact that it's on a pirate ship basically. Getting into some of the books that I started but didn't finish. A Murder Most Frothy, which is part of that Coffee House series by Cleo Coyle. I got bored, which honestly is easy to do with these, like the books in that series. Like I said, it's kind of one that like you pick up those books when you want something lighthearted that you can clean to and not really like be invested in. And this one I really just didn't get. Like, it wasn't going anywhere for me. I wasn't really a fan. I might finish it, I don't know. Okay, War Storm by Victoria Aveyard. So that is the last book in the Red Queen series. I have some thoughts about this. This was my least favorite. I haven't finished it. I kind of almost did. I think it was like 3/4 of the way through, but it's my least favorite by far. I don't really know what they were trying to do. I think they were trying to be like, okay, this is gonna sound bad, and I don't really care because this is my channel and I have my ice cream and I'm going to speak my mind. I feel like they were trying to be way too progressive, and like in doing that they changed very like the dynamics of the writing. If you read the book, you'll probably understand what I mean. I have to be careful on YouTube the things I say. But the thing is, like, there's other books that include that kind of stuff that I don't personally agree with my faith, but they still, like, it's not like they changed the entire dynamics of the book to include it. This, I felt like they really changed the dynamics of the book to include this, and I didn't love that. And also, I just got bored. Like, I realized like I was getting bored while I was listening to it, and those other books I never got bored, and I'm still probably gonna finish it since it's like I've been through this whole series. I want to finish it, but I don't know. Take what you will. Maybe you loved it, and that's fine. This is just my opinion. Next one that I started but didn't finish was Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I probably will finish this at some point, but it expired on my Libby. I got bored. Okay, it wasn't even that I got bored. I did get bored a little, but it was more the fact that there were a lot of characters introduced in the beginning of the book, and I wasn't fully paying attention. I didn't keep up with the characters in the beginning enough, and so then I was trying to go back and listen to the characters and listen to them again to figure out who was who, because that's kind of really important in an Agatha Christie. Like, all the details about a character you learn early on play into the ending, and I was just getting sick of like re-listening to it. So I have heard this is a really good one though, so I most likely will listen to it or read it again, but I need to be in a place where I can fully pay attention next time. And then this last one that I started but didn't finish and probably won't pick up again is Sharp Objects by Gillian, I think. Yeah, I had hopes for this because it seemed really kind of mysterious and stuff. Maybe it is really good. Maybe I just didn't get into it enough, but I think it was a few chapters in and it still hadn't picked up at all. Like, it was still really just depressing without like anything else. Like, to me, maybe I didn't get far enough, but it seemed just depressing without really the plot there in the sense of like the mystery portion. It just seemed kind of like dark. And I believe, if I'm thinking of the right book, I think there was like a pretty sexual like scene that I was just like not there for, like out of nowhere. Like, there was no warning whatsoever. It was just like boom, there, like you're reading it and it's like, okay. And so if I'm remembering the right book, I was just like, no, like it was already depressing. There wasn't really a mystery yet at all. It was dark, and then it was also like not clean really, and I was just like, not really my style. So that's why I bailed on that one. If you enjoy book type videos from me, Leave a comment down below telling me so, because I'm really trying to figure out what kind of stuff you guys like, and even if I like making these, maybe you don't like them. So let me know down below. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.